what's up? My name is John Bonjour. I am a comic artist and film enthusiast, and this is kind of the finalization, the season finale, if you will, of my Why It Should Win Best Picture videos. But it's also kind of its own thing, a little bit of a new start, something else I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while. Which means if you haven't seen any of those videos, you're a bad friend, and I don't want to talk to you. And also, you really don't have to watch this video. I think there's a lot that you can get out of this without having seen those. And honestly, this is really more of a Spirit sequel. Anyway, I'm getting lost in the sauce here. I have a friend. Let's call him Steve, because that's his name. We were talking recently. We go see a lot of horror movies together, which is a ton of fun. And my friend Steve has very specific movie taste that I often disagree with, and that's perfectly fine. I think that's part of what makes friendship so fun. Part of what makes talking about movies so fun is that you can disagree and be perfectly fine. But he said something that has stuck with me for a long time. He said, I just don't like that artsy-fartsy crap. If it's too slow or too boring, I just don't watch it. And I really push back against that in my heart, and I've been trying to figure out why for a long time, and I think I finally cracked the case. I understand that not everyone is as pretentious as I can be sometimes. I understand that some people genuinely don't watch the Oscars because they just don't think any of those movies are relevant. And I'm here to fight back against that. I'm here to make the argument that art films are an integral part of a healthy cinematic diet. They're the kind of projects that can challenge us in ways that no other entertainment, blockbuster kind of film ever could. To start us off, I think it is important to get a definition of what we mean by art films. This definition comes from EBSCO, or EBSCO, probably not, or the Elton B. Stevens Company, which is a research database that I have absolutely no idea if they have any merit whatsoever, but I kind of liked what they had for art films. Their definition is a motion picture created primarily for artistic expression rather than commercial success. These films often prioritize aesthetic qualities and emotional engagement over mass appeal and profitability, making them distinct from mainstream cinema. And I'd like to take that definition and amend and sort of simplify it for the basis of this video and give it a 3-point structure. An art film needs to have all three of these things: uncompromised vision, technical skill, and artistic passion. I think any movie that doesn't have all three of those cannot, for the purposes again of this video, qualify as an art film. For example, a lot of the later, more recent Wes Anderson films have all the technical skill, all the uncompromised vision, and very little, it seems, artistic passion. In a similar vein, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness has all the artistic passion, a lot of technical skill, and almost no uncompromised vision. And on the third end, a movie like Morbius or In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege Tale is missing that technical skill, as well as all the other parts that are necessary to make a movie. I think it's also worth mentioning that art film, the term, doesn't define the quality of a movie. I think that's far too subjective to include in this discussion. There's a lot of things that I think qualify as art films that I don't particularly like, and there's a lot of things that I absolutely love that don't qualify as art film. The intention of this video is not to justify anyone's taste or make anyone feel better or worse for having specific taste. It's the discussion of whether or not these kinds of movies, these artsy-fartsy, pretentious crap movies, are important for a society and for the medium as a whole. From the very beginning, the dawn of cinema, these have been art films. Literally, if you take it apart, they are art that is film. That's the whole point of the thing. And I think there's an argument that every movie made is art. I'm not really here to talk about that discussion. I think there's a lot to be said there, but that's not really the point I'm making. Art has been intrinsically linked to film from the very beginning, even when it was at its most experimental. Trains coming into stations, rocket ships hitting the moon. The experimental phase of art in film is so intrinsically important to film as a whole. And I think as a general consumptive society, as a society that consumes art, I think we have lost our taste overall for this kind of thing, for things that challenge us. If we look at what we're intaking, if we look at the food we're intaking, we are told from day one that we have to have a balanced diet of fruits, vegetables, meat, grains, carbs, sweet. All of these are good in moderation and can have their benefits and their drawbacks. All of them are involved in what we need to function as a human body. I think cinema and art in general is the same way. I think there is a lot of merit to grain films. There's a lot of merit to junk food, sweet films. All of those things can be really fun and good in their own healthy amounts. If we're gonna take it that far in the culinary direction, I guess art films in my mind would be the protein. I'm not gonna go too deep into this because I don't think the volume that they recommend for physical bodies, I don't think that necessarily applies, but I think it's a good structure to look at why we should be varying our taste a little bit. So why should you watch art films? Well, first and foremost, I think you have a feeling of superiority. You're better than everyone else when you have a nuanced take on Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And I'm only half joking about that because I do genuinely believe that art films challenge our literacy. There's been a lot of discussion recently about media literacy in the wake of Stranger Things season 5. I think media literacy perhaps is at an all-time low. The questions that I've seen people asking about films that are not even how they read the movie, but literally just fundamentally misunderstanding bits and pieces of a film. Take Marty Supreme, for example. The number of people that I have seen trying to figure out whether or not at the end of the movie that's Marty's child when the opening credits are to a sperm getting into an egg. Like, it couldn't be clearer about that. The movie is explicitly clear. This is what I'm talking about when I say that media literacy is struggling. It's struggling pretty bad. And I think that it's important because art films, things like, say, Memento or Enemy or Mulholland Drive, films that are genuinely hard to read are important to be intaking because they're hard to read. And I think that's part of it. The process of chewing on a movie, trying to understand it, trying to piece it apart and make something out of this thing that is hard to understand, that is very important. And obviously, I also think there's movies that go far too far in the direction of being difficult to read to the point that it just becomes bullheaded and annoying. But being able to see the difference between those two, being able to understand what a movie is saying and trying to say, is important if we're going to be people that intake art. You can't have a genuine discussion about a film if you aren't willing to read it on its own terms. One of my main complaints with the way that people watch movies nowadays is watching it hoping that it's going to be something specific, having expectations of what this movie needs to be and do for them to like it, which is dumb. Part of the joy and beauty of film is that it is artists, auteurs, creative people expressing the world in ways that you and I couldn't, in ways that no one else could. That's what makes that uncompromised vision so important, is that we need to be able to experience the world through other people's eyes, and cinema is the only way to really do that. But our literacy isn't the only thing that art films challenge. They also challenge the medium as a whole. As I mentioned before, this is a medium that has been developing from its conception, from the start. The first movie ever produced is completely, radically different from the most recent movie that has come out in theaters, and that's beautiful. It's amazing to watch this thing collectively grow and learn and develop itself and become something bigger than anyone could have ever dreamed. The problem is, for that to happen, people have to actually be engaging with it. Art and viewers are intrinsically linked. One doesn't really work without the other. So if we stop watching movies that are pushing the medium of film forward, projects like 2001: A Space Odyssey that developed so much of the miniature model work that we used for so many years before CGI became a thing, if we stop watching those kinds of movies and just favor comfortable, easy, palatable films, the medium will stop developing, it will stop growing, and eventually we'll just be in this feedback loop of always watching the same thing over and over and over again. And I know this feels like a slippery slope argument, but I also think this maybe is the most important time to be making that argument in the wake of generative AI, a thing that is literally incapable of developing the medium. I think it's probably the most scared I've ever been for one of my favorite things in the world, which is film. Because if we start to accept this regurgitative slop as art, there's really no coming back from that. It's going to be extremely hard. There will be, at least bare minimum, a long period of time where art, cinema, dies. We just have to take in whatever quick generated video of Iron Man fighting Luke Skywalker on a McDonald's. Like, it's just all bullshit nothing. And as a fan of film as a medium, it frustrates me to see this commercial attitude toward film, even though it has also been part of why we're able to make so many movies, is because people paid to see the movies and people make careers out of making movies, and that's beautiful. But if we stop making careers out of movies that are challenging the genre, if we stop caring about the Oscars, not specifically in that capacity, but if we stop caring about whether or not a film is artful, we start losing what makes art important. And thirdly, art films challenge our views. Things like literally last year, we had at the Oscars, Anora and Conclave, two radically different viewpoints, two radically different takeaways and messages of film, both extremely challenging in their own right. And I think that that is so important, because if we're never challenged, if we never watch anything that we disagree with on a moral level, on a spiritual level, on a political level, again, we get into this feedback loop, we get into this echo chamber, and that's extremely dangerous, which is why you have to watch all of these things, why you should be paying attention if you care about film. If you don't care about film, you haven't made it this far into the video. But if you don't care about film, if you're just like, I don't know, I like movies, okay, that's fine. It honestly is genuinely fine to just like a few movies, like the Marvel movies that come out, and be happy with that, if that's not your passion. But if you care about film, I think it's radically important that you care about all film. Not that you care about every film that has ever been made, but you are willing to engage with different cultures of film, different languages of film, different styles, different genres, things that will challenge your views, the way you view the world, the way you experience the world. It's such a beautiful thing that we are so willing to just throw away because I disagree with it. And it's, I think, personally, very okay to disagree with a movie and still genuinely enjoy it. I used to be pretty dead set on the idea that if a film had a political message that I disagreed with, well, then it was intrinsically bad. And I don't think that anymore. I think if a film has a message that I disagree with, I am way more excited to watch it because I'm interested to see what other people think, how other people view the world. It's got that same kind of feeling as when you go into an airport and you start looking around at all of these people and you realize all of these people came from completely different places. They have completely different lives than me. It opens up your eyes to the fact that we are a much larger society. And that's amazing to me, that something as easily boiled down as film can bring us something so beautiful. And finally, in the same way that art films can challenge our views, art films can challenge our taste. I'm gonna drop a list of 3 movies right now that I think you should watch because they are challenging to taste. Some of them I like, some of them I don't. First, Before Sunrise, a quiet, pensive, conversational piece of film that a lot of people find very boring. Second, Triangle of Sadness, a strange, bombastic, loud movie that I personally hate. I think it's kind of one of my least favorite movies. And third, the movie Mandy by Panos Cosmatos, starring Nicolas Cage, the craziest movie that I think has ever been made. All 3 of these films have the trifecta of artistic passion, uncompromised vision, and technical skill, and all 3 could not be more dissimilar from each other, and I think it is a perfect viewpoint on what art film can be. I will not guarantee that you will like all these movies. I don't think it's important, again, as I mentioned before, to like all of these movies. It's not about liking the movies, it's about partaking in the art. And if you dislike something, that doesn't make it wasted time. The only way to waste your time with a movie is to not engage with it. But when you engage with art films, you will inherently butt up against things that you disagree with on a personal, moral, or creative level. And I think that is so important because that shows you, that grows your view of things, even if you end up still not liking it, like Triangle of Sadness. That is a movie that I genuinely hate, and I can't be more clear about that. But I understand what it was doing, and I can value what it was doing and also dislike the movie in both hands. I can hold both of those equally tight. We're very quick to just push away whatever we don't like because we like to be comfortable. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, but I also do think the more comfortable we get, the easier it is to fall into comfort spirals of just either rewatching things that we've already seen, taking in no new art, or watching things that we already know we're gonna like. It's the Christian film mentality that I think has been so prominent and harmful to Christian creatives. And I say this as someone who is both Christian and creative. There is a sincere lack of genuine art in Christian film because all of them are so afraid to challenge anything that has ever been said or done. All of them are so afraid to challenge anyone's viewpoint or discuss hard topics because it would be easier to just make something that literally preaches to the literal choir And I find that so hugely frustrating because we could be making beautiful art. As Christians, I believe, and this isn't really what the video is about, but as a Christian, I believe we are designed to reflect God's creativity. And it is genuinely insane that we use that to make the most palatable, non-committal art on the planet. And those are the reasons that I think you should watch art films. They are challenging, they are hard, they can be really hugely rewarding also because they can show you things that you never thought you would see or understand, and they can be beautiful, touching, heartfelt pieces of work. So you may be asking yourself at this point, I'd love to watch art films. How do I even start? And my answer to that is pretty simple. Start. Just start watching them. The Oscars are a decent place to start in terms of watching art films. Look at the movies that are nominated for Best Picture this year and try to watch as many of them as you can, especially, honestly, this year. It's been a very diverse, weird, and good year for film, and I think that the Oscars have chosen a solid list, even if I think it's missing a few, no other choice specifically. It's a solid list of starter movies that will give you a lot of variety in what an art film can be. I do not think that the Oscars are the end-all be-all say in what makes a good or perfect movie. I think they are pretty regularly wrong about what the best picture of the year is, but it's not really about that. I don't like the Oscars because I really value their taste in film. They nominated Emilia Perez, a movie that I think is genuinely dog shit, but I like them because they highlight art in film. They're trying, at least, to show what can be beautiful. So look at the Best Picture nominees list, give them a watch. I think this year specifically, you've got, let's see if I can do it off the top of my head, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sinners, Train Dreams, Hamnet, Sentimental Value, and One, and there's one more. It's the one I haven't seen yet. Secret Agent. Maybe I'm missing one. Begonia. Wow, there's so many good movies. That is a long list of films that I think are good starts on getting into art film. So start with them and then branch out. I promise if you get the bug, you will want to try to figure out other art movies to see. You're gonna want to dive deeper and deeper and deeper into growing your taste and developing your palette because it is so rewarding and so much fun. I would also remember as you're getting started that it's a lot like learning a new language. In fact, I think in a lot of ways it is learning a new language, the language of film, which means you probably won't understand it all at first, and that's okay. It's gonna be a hard learning curve for a little bit, but I also think you'll be surprised at how much you pick up, how much you get already, how much you are prepared to understand. And the further you go, the more things you don't understand, the more things you start looking up. Like, look up the endings to movies once you've seen them and what people thought of them. I do it literally all the time because there's sometimes that I watch a movie and I'm literally like, I have no idea what the hell that was. And it's fun to see other people's reads on movies and develop that. And if you were learning a language, you would look up the definitions of words you don't know. So why would you not do the same thing for film? It's fun to develop your literacy as a skill because you'll start to notice things you never would have before in movies that seem pretty mundane or pretty average. It's fun to be able to engage with an art form in a knowledgeable way, and the only way to do that is just to do it, just to get into it and engage with the thing, which is hard. It's a tough thing to do. You also have to put your phone away. You just simply must. You must put your phone away. I do this all the time if I'm gonna watch a movie that I know is gonna be have a lot of outs, if it's gonna seem boring, if I don't think I'm gonna be immediately engrossed by it, I put my phone in a different room. I put it away from me as far as it'll go because it's so easy to just naturally start scrolling, and that you will immediately jump out of a movie. There's no way to not break immersion by scrolling. Even if you pause the movie, I promise you, putting your phone away, putting it away, will make you engage with film way more, and it'll make you less of a dick at the movie theater. Don't pull your phone out in the movies. I saw Scream 7 last night. Lady next to me just TikToking it up. The hell are we doing here? And my last piece of advice on how to get into art film is discuss with people. My best friend in the world, Lincoln, he is smarter than I am pretty much across the board. And I love talking movies with him because he always has some new read, some new take that I never would have thought of. And I'm able to engage with him and learn from him. And I hope in some way he learns from me. We have these intricate, fun, in-depth conversations about a film that I would never have if I didn't just watch the movies and go out and talk. It's easy to watch your Spider-Man movies or your Hallmark movies or your Missions Impossible, and I don't think those are without their place on a balanced meal, but you need to be partaking of your meat, of your proteins. You need to be intaking these things that challenge you, that are hard to process, tough to chew on. Art films are valuable, and if you find yourself just getting into the medium, welcome to the club, and just know that I am legitimately jealous that you get to develop this taste, that you get to experience these things for the first time. Thank you so much for watching this video and checking out my channel. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on movies, comics, TV shows, anything of the like, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and comment down below what you'd like to do me to review next, what you'd like for me to review next, or do none of that because I am not your dad. And I understand that not everyone is as pretentious a D-bag as me.